Hazel's father sent her to rot in a boarding school, erased her mother's name, and built a new family without her. Now Hazel Ellington is back, wearing a mask, hiding a secret, and holding the power to destroy them all. Orphan girl, look at her shoes! 8-year-old Hazel froze at the mirror by the chapel as icy water hit her back. Laughter exploded behind her. Miss Ellington? Mother Adeline's voice sliced through the air. What have I said about vanity? Hazel clenched her jaw. I wasn't... Crack! The ruler struck her palm. You were existing too loudly again. The other girls giggled. One whispered, That's the one whose mother died? Hazel turned, trembling. Say it again. Mother Adeline's lips curled. Violence? How predictable. She leaned close. Do you know why your father sent you here, child? Hazel glared up at her. Because you told him to. Adeline's smirk deepened. Because he was done with you. In the dining hall, the girls ate in silence. Forks scraped metal trays. Hazel reached for a roll. A hand smacked hers away. Filthy little charity case? One sneered. Your family's name won't save you here. I don't need them, Hazel muttered. The girl dumped scalding hot soup in her lap. Guess not. Despite how badly it burned, Hazel remained composed. She rose slowly, steam rising off her soaked uniform. She didn't cry. She didn't flinch. She just smiled, a cold, tiny smile that made the others step back. That night in the dormitory, rain beat the roof. Hazel whispered to the dark, They can take everything, but they can't make me like them. A flicker of lightning revealed bruises on her wrist, the threadbare ribbon tied around her mother's ring. The next morning at the chapel, Mother Adeline approached her pew. Still praying, Miss Ellington? Hazel didn't look up. No, I'm remembering. Adeline frowned. Remembering what? Hazel's eyes finally lifted. How to survive people like you. The nun's face paled. Watch your tongue. Hazel stood. You'll miss me when I'm gone. Years later, the gates opened with a groan. The same gates that had closed behind her when she was 10. The carriage waiting outside gleamed black Ellington crest on the door. The driver tipped his hat. Your father's requested you home, Miss Ellington. Hazel didn't move. Funny, she said quietly. He remembered I exist. He must net something from me. She climbed in, staring out the window as the academy disappeared into the fog behind her. The gates clanged shut one last time. The mansion loomed exactly as she remembered it, grand, cold, and hungry. But it wasn't hers anymore. Laughter floated from the parlor. She followed the sound, heart hammering, half hoping her father might still be the man from her childhood. He wasn't. Troy Ellington stood by the fireplace, polished and distant, a drink in hand. Beside him was a woman in diamonds, her hand draped across his chest like she owned it. Hazel, Troy said, as if testing the name. You've grown. Katie Bryant, her mother's best friend, turned with a soft smile that didn't reach her eyes. My goodness, Troy, she's a lady now. Hazel froze. Katie? Katie's laughter was light, almost musical. Oh, darling, you can call me Mom now. Hazel took a step closer, now face to face with her father. My mother's wasn't even cold in the ground. And you married her best friend? Or were you already screwing while she was alive? The glass nearly slipped from Troy's hand. Mind your tone. Katie's smile stayed perfectly intact. Your father needed stability, and I've given him something your mother couldn't. Footsteps clicked across the marble. A girl about Hazel's age appeared. Perfect blonde curls, white dress, polished shoes. Mother, who's this? Katie touched the girl's shoulder proudly. Caroline, sweetheart, meet your sister. Sister, Hazel echoed. Caroline gave a practiced curtsy. We've heard so much about you. Hazel's stomach twisted. I'll bet. Troy's voice was sharp now. That's enough. You'll show respect to this household. Respect? Hazel's laugh was bitter. You replaced me. Replaced my mother, your wife. Katie stepped forward, eyes glinting. We made the best of what was left. Hazel's voice dropped to a whisper. Then pray I don't remember how to take it back. Thunder cracked outside, shaking the chandelier. Later that night, when they thought Hazel had gone to bed, Troy and Katie were conspiring against her. You can't keep her here, Katie said, swirling her wine. She doesn't belong in this world anymore. Troy rubbed his temples. She's still my daughter. Then act like it, Katie shot back, before she ruins Caroline's prospects. Hazel listened from the hall, unseen, her heart pounding. Katie's tone softened. The Carters are looking for a match. Old money, good name. If Hazel marries Ryan Carter, people might forget who she really is. Hazel turned away before she could scream. If they think I'm just some pawn in their grand game, they are sorely mistaken, Hazel thought. They weren't saving her. They were selling her. Just dressed it up prettier this time, but they had no idea who they were messing with. Years had passed, and she had been bouncing around avoiding her new family at all costs. And she had actually grown quite fond of Ryan Carter during the years. But their wedding day was anything but perfect. Photos of Hazel Ellington, naked with a stranger, were being passed around at her own wedding. You shameless, two-timing disgrace! The Carter family will never accept a like you, Jillian Carter shrieked. Hazel met the horrified gazes of guests with an icy calm. A man she had never seen before had crashed the ceremony, waving intimate photos, claiming to be her lover. Hazel, you said you loved me. You can't marry him, the stranger pleaded. I don't even know you, she shouted, not at all understanding why someone would do this to her. Ryan, you have to believe me. You know me, Hazel pleaded with the groom. You were still going to marry me even though you already had a lover? What, was I just your backup plan? Ryan Carter's face twisted in disgust. Break it off. This wedding is canceled. Jillian screeched. Stay away from my son or I'll ruin what little reputation you have left in this town after your sexcapades. Why won't anybody listen to me? Hazel's frustration was boiling over. Father, please. But before she could finish her sentence, Hazel's father, Troy Ellington, raised a hand and slapped her straight across the face. You ungrateful girl! How did the Ellington family end up with a daughter as disgraceful as you? Troy bellowed. But Hazel held her head high, refusing to back down. Caroline Ellington tried to play the innocent sister. Dad, listen to her. Maybe she has a perfectly good explanation why she was naked with another man last night. Oh, drop the act, Caroline, Hazel spat, ice in her tone. We all know you're not a saint. Ryan jumped in front of Caroline, furious. You cheat on me, then attack everyone else? You've always been jealous of your sister, Caroline. Give it a rest. Hazel's heart hardened. Ryan, do you even believe me? The man knew about the mole on your waist. How can I believe nothing happened? His words stabbed Hazel straight through the heart. She touched the scar that ran down her throat, a reminder of the time she'd saved Ryan's life. She'd given up everything for him, and he didn't have her back at all. And just when she thought it couldn't get any worse, it did. Caroline, take your sister's place and marry Ryan instead, Mr. Ellington said firmly. Oh, sweet Caroline, what a wonderful idea. Jillian beamed. Ryan and Caroline said nothing, their silence speaking volumes. Hazel's eyes went cold, their eagerness, the way they looked at each other, all of Ryan's late-night meetings, the hushed phone conversations. It was all proof. This had all been an elaborate setup from the start. Ryan, she said calmly, how long have you been sleeping with my sister? Ryan scoffed, but he didn't deny it. This engagement is officially over, you two-timing, cheating liar. Hazel threw her gigantic diamond ring at Ryan's head, fury and hurt in her eyes. Suddenly, Jillian claimed she was lightheaded and collapsed dramatically. Mom! Ryan ran to her side. Look what you've done, Hazel. You know stress is bad for her heart. Hazel rolled her eyes. Jillian Carter would do anything to protect her son's reputation. Caroline smirked, whispering, Hazel, now that you aren't marrying a Carter, your mother's inheritance will go to me now. Such a shame you couldn't fulfill her dying wish. Hazel's jaw tightened. Marrying into the Carter family was the only way to secure her inheritance. She wasn't about to let Caroline take this away from her too. She looked around the room, searching desperately. Ryan wasn't the only available man in the Carter family. Her gaze landed on a tall, dark, and handsome man she vaguely recognized from the Carter family gatherings. Ryan always called him Uncle, but there was nothing uncle-like about him. The man's deep eyes met hers, unreadable. Hazel lifted her wedding dress and walked straight to him. Hello, my name is Hazel Ellington. Miss Ellington, a pleasure, he said, extending a hand. Without hesitation, Hazel met his gaze. Sir, would you like to get married? His eyebrow rose. Miss Ellington, is this some kind of joke? I'm dead serious, she said, fist balled but voice steady. He studied her, thinking of the blind dates he'd endured. A flash marriage was radical, but could be perfect given his situation. I accept your proposal, Miss Ellington. Hazel blinked, shock and relief flooding her. Just like that, she had a new groom. "Let's go," he said, grabbing her hand and pulling her along. "To where?" "To get our marriage license." "Right now?" Hazel shrieked softly, yanking her hand back. The man turned around, as if he wasn't used to always getting his way. "Is there a reason we should wait?" He studied the women in front of him with intensity she could feel in her bones. "Not at all." A smile broke across Hazel's face. "Lead the way." Fate, it seemed, had a wicked sense of timing. "After we're married, we can lead separate lives. I won't get in your way," Hazel explained. The devastatingly handsome man's gaze sharpened as he weaved them along. "You have a remarkably casual attitude toward marriage, Miss Ellington." Before Hazel could respond, the man claiming to be her lover blocked her path. "Thank God you called it off. Now we can finally be together." Hazel's slap landed with precision just before her knee slammed into his gut. He crumpled. "Who sent you?" she demanded. She went to kick him, but he threw a hand up, begging her to stop. "I'll talk," he squeaked. Hazel was amused. She hadn't even gotten to threatening him with legal action yet. He spilled every last detail. Hazel recorded his confession and then sent him fleeing with a warning of what would happen if she ever saw his face again. Her groom-to-be, leaning against a pillar, clapped silently. "Impressive. You handle yourself well." An hour later, Hazel held the marriage certificate. But then her heart raced when she caught the other name on the paper. "No, this can't be true." But it was there in permanent ink. Landon Morgan. "The Landon Morgan?" she whispered. He was the most powerful man in the city, feared by all. Landon's assistant, Jack Cole, appeared with a set of keys. "Sir, a set of keys for the villa in Sapphire Valley as requested." Landon nodded, took the keys, and offered them to Hazel. She stared at the keys. It didn't feel right for her to just move in with him. Even though they were husband and wife, they were still strangers. Landon didn't seem to notice her hesitation. "From now on, Miss Ellington is the lady of the house. Make sure the staff is aware." "Yes, sir," Jack replied, his eyes flicking to Hazel with a newfound respect. That was a direct acknowledgement of her status from the man himself. Landon glanced at his watch. "I have a meeting. Jack will take you to the villa. Make yourself at home, wife." He kissed her softly on the cheek and disappeared. Blindsided by his gesture, the kiss, and the new living arrangement, Hazel found herself speechless. Was she really going to live with Landon Morgan? The truth was, she had nowhere else to go. Going back to the Ellington estate was out of the question, and without the inheritance, she couldn't afford a place of her own yet. Unable to refuse, she took Landon up on his offer. The next morning at Sapphire Valley, sunlight streamed through the curtains, pulling Hazel from her sleep. Rubbing her eyes, she padded toward the bathroom just as the door swung open to reveal Landon, shirtless. Water droplets clung to his skin, tracing paths over a landscape of lean muscle and toned abs. Hazel's brain short-circuited. Her eyes widened, her gaze snagging on the sculpted lines of his chest before she could stop herself. Landon, holding the shirt he'd just taken off, didn't move a muscle, simply letting her stare. A hot blush flooded her cheeks. She spun around so fast she nearly stumbled. It was only then that she heard the low, amused rumble of his voice behind her. "Like what you see." Hazel spun, cheeks flaming. She slammed the door, mortified. The bathroom door opened behind her and Landon stepped out, damp there. "What are you doing in my bathroom?" she hissed, willing herself not to sneak a look at his perfectly carved body. "You think I just let anyone sleep in my bed?" he asked with a slow, teasing smile. That's when Hazel realized this wasn't a guest room. This was Landon's room. She had promised him she wouldn't be a bother, and here she was already screwing everything up. "I'm sorry, Mr. Morgan. I honestly didn't know." "I'll get out of your hair right now," she said, snatching her bag and making a beeline for the door. In her haste, she stumbled and pitched forward. She cried out. Landon caught her, arms strong. Hazel's face collided with the hard wall of his chest, the impact making him grunt softly. Flustered, she tilted her head up just as Landon was looking down. They were so close her lips grazed his cheek. Hazel froze. What had she just done? She hadn't been in the villa for more than a day, and already she was breaking all of the rules. He swallowed, and his gaze dropped, tracing the curve of her body pressed against his. The amusement returned to his eyes, deeper this time. "Trying to throw yourself at me already, Miss Ellington?" The heat between them grew like an inferno. neither one of them able to break away. A long, faded memory surfaced in Landon's mind as he stared into the depths of Hazel's eyes. There was something familiar about her. A memory? Could she be the one he's been looking for all of these years? A knock at the door shattered the tense silence. "Sir, madam, breakfast is ready," a servant's voice announced from the hall. After breakfast, Landon left for the office, and Hazel breathed out a long, shaky sigh of relief. The entire morning had left her feeling jittery and hyper-aware of him, but she needed to focus. It was time to reclaim her mother's necklace. When Hazel arrived at the hospital to confront the Carter family, Ryan smirked. "Hazel, the engagement is off. What are you doing here?" "Give me back my mother's necklace." Her voice was strong and unwavering. Her blunt demand startled Caroline, who clung to Ryan's side. "Hazel, isn't that necklace the engagement gift between the Carter and Ellington families? How can it be yours?" Hazel's expression hardened, her sharp gaze pinning Caroline in place. "That necklace was a gift from my mother." Ryan moved to stand protectively in front of Caroline. "Hazel, she's right. That necklace was the token for our family's engagement. Now that Caroline and I are engaged, it belongs to her. It has nothing to do with you anymore." Hazel almost laughed. "Ryan, stop twisting things. Give me back the necklace. Why should I?" A voice boomed from behind her. Troy Ellington strode toward them, his face a mask of fury. "This whole cheating scandal has made our family the laughingstock of the entire town. I can't even show my face in public, and you have the nerve to come here demanding gifts back? Have you no shame?" Troy snapped. Hazel let out a dry, mocking laugh. "My reputation? What about yours, like it's any better? Everyone in Athenborough's high society knows about your affair. About how you moved your mistress and her daughter into our house less than 6 months after my mother died." Troy was rendered speechless, his face darkening with rage. Overcome, he raised his hand to slap her. But Hazel wasn't about to just stand there and take it this time. She grabbed her sister's arm and yanked her forward. A sharp slap echoed through the quiet hospital corridor as Troy's hand met Caroline's cheek. Caroline clutched her face, stunned. Tears immediately welled in her eyes. Ryan pulled her into a protective embrace. "Caroline, are you okay?" Troy looked instantly regretful, worried even. How a father should look at his daughter. Hazel couldn't remember the last time he had looked at her like that. "You vicious little brat!" he roared at Hazel. "Did you just use your own sister as a shield? How did I raise such a monster?" A cold smile touched Hazel's lips. "You think I'm the monster?" With that, she pulled a small voice recorder from her purse and pressed play. A man's voice, laced with panic, filled the air. "Your sister Caroline, she made me do it. Gave me 500 grand to pretend to be your boyfriend. And those photos? That was her idea too, just to trash your name and make sure the wedding didn't happen. I swear that's the truth." Caroline's face went white. The hospital buzzed as people gathered around to witness the family dispute. But Caroline denied it, claiming Hazel had doctored it to ruin her reputation in a fit of jealous rage. And they believed her. No matter what Caroline did, Troy, Katie, and Ryan would always leap to her defense. Their blind loyalty didn't even sting anymore. But Hazel came prepared. Next, she showed a video of Caroline meeting up with the man who barged into their wedding ceremony. Clear as day, she handed him a check. And still, Ryan defended her. "I hope you have a long, miserable life together. You deserve each other," Hazel spat, and then she ripped the necklace off of Caroline and left without a backward glance. But when she turned the corner, she stopped short. There, talking to a man in a white coat, was Landon Morgan. He looked up and a breathtaking smile crept over his face. "This is Hazel. My wife." Ethan Drake's jaw nearly hit the floor. "Your wife? You were a bachelor on Friday." "I got married yesterday," Landon answered casually. "Can I take you to lunch, wife?" Hazel hated how much she liked it when he called her that. From his lips, in that deep, low voice, it felt like a kiss, and she craved more. "Sure," she smiled. They arrived at Celestial Feast, the town's most exclusive private club. It was the hot spot to see and be seen. Hazel gasped at the elegance. "I love it," she exclaimed. "But it's impossible to get a table during lunch rush." "Not when you own it," Landon said, passing her a VIP card. "And it turns out, I own it." Hazel froze. "Anything you want is yours with the card. Come on, I have a private room set up for us." The staff bowed as they walked by. Hazel couldn't believe her eyes. Her husband was more powerful than she thought. Hazel was appreciating the grandeur of the restaurant when she stopped cold. Jillian Carter, who looked perfectly healthy and fine, was stomping towards her. "Here to apologize?" she hissed. "Get down on your hands and knees, you filth." Hazel's smile was icy. "Mrs. Carter, maybe you should go back to the hospital and get your head checked out. You seem to be confused, or were you just faking it all along?" "You little brat!" Jillian's anger flared. Hazel felt him at her back before he spoke. "I'll be seeing you at the charity gala tomorrow, Mrs. Carter?" Landon asked smoothly. Jillian cleared her throat. "Of course we will be there." "So will we," Landon fired back, placing his hand on the small of Hazel's back possessively. "Enjoy your lunch. It's on the house." Jillian stared in wonderment as Landon steered Hazel towards the private dining area. "I mean to ask you," he murmured, his voice soft in her ear. "Are you free tomorrow evening?" "Yes," she answered, shivering at his proximity. "Would you come with me to the gala?" Hazel's eyes widened. Arriving together would be a public statement. It would make things official. She nodded in answer. "Good. I'll have a few dresses delivered to the villa during my meetings." "How do you know what I like, or my size?" Hazel countered, still in awe of this man. "Because I pay attention," he said, assured of himself. "There isn't much about you I don't notice, Mrs. Morgan." In the private dining room, Hazel sat down to enjoy a decadent 5-star lunch with her husband. But when she picked up the menu and saw the prices, she nearly choked on her water. "Are these prices for real?" she asked in disbelief. "Has anyone ever reported you for price gouging?" Landon gazed at Hazel, his lips curling into a faint smile. "Miss Ellington, do you have an issue with our prices?" Hazel pointed to an item on the menu, her skepticism obvious. "This R.S. Estate Red from Stravelin. $10,000 a bottle is the standard price for the regular version, but you're charging $800,000. That's insane." Landon leaned back in his chair as she continued. "As far as I know, R.S. Estate has only one premium vintage at that price point, and it's sold through a single exclusive distributor." Landon raised an eyebrow, a flicker of amusement in his eyes. "And what makes you so sure, Miss Ellington, that Celestial Feast isn't that distributor?" Hazel froze, her breath catching in her throat. The R.S. Estate Premium Vintage was reserved for one partner due to a deep personal relationship with the estate's owner. Could Landon really have that kind of exclusive access? Her thoughts raced, but Landon cut through them. R.S. Estate wines aren't well known in the States. Only someone who has physically been to the estate would know about this particular bottle. If you grew up in the countryside, how do you know about it? His voice was even, but his gaze was so intense it felt like he could see right through her. Hazel hesitated, completely blindsided. She instinctively snatched the glass of wine Landon had poured for her and downed it in one go. "I just heard about it." She shrugged. "Heard about it?" Landon let out a soft chuckle, tapping her forehead with his index finger. "It seems the Ellingtons severely underestimated you. I must say I'm impressed with the country girl. Or so you say." This time, Hazel really did choke, quickly turning away to hide the flush creeping up her neck. With just a few casual sentences, Landon had poked holes all through the cover story she'd so carefully constructed. She would have to be more mindful of what she said around her husband. No one could discover who she really was. Her life depended on it. Later that night, Landon stood in his study as he gave Jack a quiet order. "Look into Hazel. I need to know if it's really her." She had been to R.S. Estate. She had a scar on her neck. Landon couldn't ignore the pieces clicking into place, connecting Hazel to the woman seared into his memory. The woman he could not, for the life of him, forget. The following evening, Ethan pulled up to the valet in his luxury car. Stepping out, his eyes tracked Hazel as she walked into the gala, wearing a stunning red dress that caught the attention of every single person she passed. Landon stood outside, and when he ended his call, he looked around as if he were searching for something. Or someone. "I believe the woman you're looking for went in without you," Ethan mused. "Oh," Landon's sharp eyes narrowed. His voice was deceptively calm. "I told her to wait for me." Ethan shrugged, a teasing note in his voice. "That's a first. Someone actually blew you off. You don't see that every day." Landon's lips curved into a dark, unreadable smile. His voice was low, laced with a dangerous edge. It seems she's forgotten our conversation. Ethan gave an exaggerated shiver and clicked his tongue, clearly relishing the impending drama. Ooh, does this Hazel girl not know who you are? Ethan raised an eyebrow. She has no idea what's coming, does she? What are you going to do? Landon's gaze darkened, but the faint smile in his eyes was impossible to read. I'm going to go find my wife before she gets into trouble. See you inside. Ethan watched his friend prowl inside. Landon Morgan is married. Ethan thought to himself, never thought I'd see the day. I hope she knows what she got herself into. Inside, the gala was in full swing as guests prepared for the auction. The moment Landon spotted Hazel, he knew something was wrong. Just then, Troy Ellington stepped up to the podium on stage under the lights. Tonight's highlight, he announced proudly, is the Eternity of the Stars necklace, which has been donated by my gracious daughter, Caroline. Gasps and applause filled the room. The Eternity of the Stars necklace was a stunning piece of 18 rare sapphires worth $60 million. Caroline glowed, drinking in the praise, with Katie smiling at her side. Across the room, Hazel stood alone, fuming with tears in her eyes. That was her mother's necklace. She didn't expect much from her family anymore, but this crossed a line. They were using her mother's possessions to appear like selfless do-gooders when none of it was theirs to give away in the first place. It was all a hoax, and everyone was falling for it. The whispers around her only fueled her frustration. Caroline is an angel on earth. I heard her sister Hazel is jealous and ungrateful. No wonder her fiancé dumped her. And just when Hazel thought it couldn't possibly get any worse, the auctioneer announced that Caroline was receiving a medal for her unbelievable generosity. That's when Hazel stepped forward. I object. Every single head in the room turned towards her. That necklace belongs to my mother. Caroline is using my dead mother's memory to polish her reputation. Caroline gasped out fake innocence. Katie wept about misunderstanding. Troy exploded, insisting the necklace was his to give away. Chaos erupted. The auctioneer pounded the gavel over and over to try to maintain order, but it was useless. Hazel marched on stage and snatched the necklace from its velvet pedestal too quickly for security to stop her. Miss Ellington, you need to put the necklace down or I will have you taken to county jail, the auctioneer shouted as security closed in on her. Hazel ignored him and lifted the sparkling jewels under the lit projector. See this engraving? The screen magnified an etching on the platinum clasp and the room fell into a hushed silence. There for all the world to see was her mother's name. Whispers started again. You gave your late wife's belongings to the daughter of your mistress? And let her donate it in her name? How scandalous! Caroline trembled, tears streaking. Katie rubbed her back, trying to console her. Troy pointed at Hazel. How did she even get past security without an invitation? Security hesitated. Well, don't just stand there like statues. Seize her, Troy demanded, trying to salvage his reputation and shift the focus. Security headed for her, but Hazel didn't flinch. The invitation was addressed to the Ellington family, Hazel reasoned. I have just as much of a right to be here as you do. Security halted their advance as Hazel continued. You used my mother's heirloom for applause. I won't take the necklace back, but the donation goes in my mother's name, not Caroline's. The audience erupted in admiration for Hazel. Miss Ellington, the auctioneer interrupted, you are tonight's true honoree. He handed Hazel the medal that was meant for Caroline. Caroline choked on her own tears, utterly humiliated. The host of the gala stepped onto the stage. The rest of the Ellington family is no longer welcome here. The ballroom watched as Troy, Katie, and Caroline were dragged out by security, kicking and shrieking. Shame on you, a guest yelled as they went past. Troy, Katie pleaded, trying to yank free of security's grip on her arm. We can't let her get away with this. She's ruined our name. Don't worry, he assured his wife under his breath. When I sell her to Mr. Perez, we'll be rich, and she'll be out of our lives for good. She'll never see it coming. Caroline gritted her teeth, never having been made to feel so ashamed, but a sly smile crept over her lips. When she had lightly brushed past Hazel as they were escorted out of the gala, she had left her sweet sister with a deathly parting gift. Caroline was only mad she wouldn't be able to watch it all unfold. An eye for an eye, sister, Caroline muttered. Hazel slipped outside, exhausted. And then she heard footsteps approaching. But when she turned around, it wasn't at all who she thought it would be. Ryan. "What the hell was that, Hazel?" he barked. "You humiliated Caroline. Why couldn't you settle it privately?" Hazel stared at him, stunned. "They didn't really give me a choice." Ryan grabbed her wrist. "Caroline has been putting up with your crap for years. What more do you want? Even when she makes a mistake, it's because you push her to it. Do you have any idea how hard things have been for her? Why can't you just learn to be kind like Caroline is?" Hazel scoffed, yanking her wrist free from Ryan. "You're right, I'm not as kind as Caroline." Suddenly, a sharp pain shot through his knee, and he crumpled to the pavement with a strangled grunt. "You dare to kick me?" Ryan roared, his face livid. Hazel looked down over him, unbothered. Embarrassment and fury warred on Ryan's face, and the anger simmering in his chest finally boiled over. "I know you're married. Just know that man only married you because he's impotent. No real man would ever want you." Jillian had told him that she'd run into Hazel at a restaurant and that she had been with some man. Even though he was the one who had betrayed Hazel, a sharp sting of jealousy had hit him. Hearing she'd moved on so fast. After doing some digging, he found out that Hazel was actually married, but no matter how hard he looked, he couldn't find a single piece of information on her husband. Hazel's eyes narrowed. She turned back to him, her voice dangerously low. "Whatever my husband is, it's none of your business." With that, she kicked him again. A choked sound of agony tore from Ryan's throat as he doubled over. Hazel calmly turned and walked away, but Ryan's words echoed in her mind. Impotent. Could that be true? Her thoughts drifted to Ethan, Landon's close friend and a doctor. She remembered his reaction when he heard about their marriage. He had been visibly shocked, almost like he knew something she didn't. Hazel frowned, the pieces starting to click into place with an unwelcome, chilling clarity, and that's when she froze. There was Landon leaning against a nearby glass door, his arms crossed with his cold, sharp gaze locked on her. How long had he been standing there? Hazel's pulse stumbled and she swallowed hard. "You've had a very busy evening, wife," he murmured, his gaze tracing over her curves in the dress he had chosen himself. He said nothing else, as if he was trying to make her squirm. All of the composure Hazel had been clinging to all night finally shattered. Landon seemed to revel in her discomfort, the corners of his mouth lifting just a fraction more. He stepped closer, towering over her. Being this close to him threw her completely off balance. A dangerous glint flashed in his narrowed eyes. "I saw Ryan grab your hand. What were you two talking about?" His breath ghosted across her skin, and his deep voice sent a tingle through her. She couldn't help but notice every little detail, the subtle bob of his Adam's apple when he spoke, the small mole at the corner of his eye. Everything about him was magnetic. She was so distracted she almost forgot he had asked her a question. She couldn't exactly tell him the truth. Nothing important. Ryan was just being a jerk, spouting nonsense, trying to stir up trouble between us. As she finished, her eyes betrayed her for a split second, flicking down toward his lower body. Realizing her mistake, her gaze shot back up as if she'd been burned. Landon caught the slip. His eyes darkened, a strange glint flashing in their depths as they narrowed. "Stirring up trouble between us?" His voice was low with an edge sharp enough to cut. Hazel shivered. He was demanding, "I apologize to Caroline. Can you believe that? He actually thought I'd agree to something so ridiculous. So I got mad and kicked him." "I saw," he mused with pride. He had been watching Hazel from afar all night, ready to step in at a moment's notice. But she always held her own, and there was something undeniably sexy about a woman who wasn't a damsel in distress. She was powerful in her own right, beautifully so, and he was slowly becoming addicted to it. It was only then that Hazel realized he must have heard what Ryan said. Landon's smile deepened as he brushed a stray hair behind Hazel's ear. "I think a guy like Ryan needs to be taught a lesson." "You do?" Hazel was shocked that he would choose her over his own blood. Landon watched the genuine surprise on Hazel's features. It was becoming clear his new wife had the wrong idea about his connection to the Carter family. "He never deserved you." Landon's cool, calm eyes looked her over. "You don't need to waste your breath on people who don't care about you, because the people who do, they don't want to see you sad." He pulled his phone from his pocket and made a call. "Shaq!" His playful warmth had vanished, replaced by a chilling, dangerous aura. Ryan Carter. Landon's voice was deceptively calm, but it held a bone-chilling cruelty. Make him understand the consequences of running his mouth. Make the punishment fit the crime. With that, Landon ended the call and set his focus back on Hazel. Hazel looked up into his piercing eyes, but something felt off. "Mr. Morgan." A man's voice sounded from behind Hazel. She felt Landon tense. "I'll be right back. Wait for me." And then a chill washed over Hazel as her husband disappeared inside with the mysterious man. It was almost as if he didn't want the man seeing him with her. Hazel's mind whirled with all sorts of thoughts. Was he ashamed to be seen in public together? He was the one who invited her. He was keeping something from her, and she was sure of it. She just couldn't figure out what it was, or if it had anything to do with her. Was she a pawn in whatever game he was playing? Hazel took a deep breath, trying to calm herself down. A shadow fell over her, and she turned around with a smile, but it quickly fell from her face. It wasn't her husband. "Hazel Ellington," the man said in a voice that sent chills down her spine. Not in a good way. "I've been looking for you, Mr. Perez." The man took her hand in his and drew it to his lips, his intimate touch lasting far longer than Hazel liked. But she couldn't pull away from him. Her body wasn't listening to her. The wealthy chairman of the Perez Group looked at her with hunger in his eyes. He was known for his nefarious business dealings and more particularly for his disrespectful treatment of women. "I should go inside." Hazel forced a smile, but her legs wouldn't move. Mr. Perez's grip on her hand tightened. It was suddenly too dark where they were standing, too isolated. Panic raced through her veins. She felt as if she had been drugged, but she barely had a sip all night. And then she remembered the sickeningly sweet smile Caroline had given her on the way out. The pieces slowly started clicking into place, and just like that, it all made sense. The Perez Group's $50 million investment with her father's company wasn't a business deal at all. It was Troy Ellington selling his oldest daughter off like she was nothing but a prized cow. Just like he had sent her to the countryside when she was young. Mr. Perez was staring at her shamelessly, his invasive gaze making her feel like a possession on display. "Miss Ellington, you and I are going to get to know each other very well." Hazel felt like she was going to be sick, her stomach churning with dread. "Sorry, but I'm not interested," she mumbled, her speech slurring. Her head started to spin and her knees buckled. "This is for your own good. We wouldn't want you making another scene tonight, would we?" Mr. Perez sighed. "I paid $50 million to have you as my bride, and I want my money's worth." Hazel's mind was a total haze, her body refusing to obey as Mr. Perez yanked her further into the shadows. She was too weak to fight back. Hazel was shoved into a brick wall with a thud. Her head was swimming, and her body felt like it was on fire, a painful spreading heat. A smirk played on Mr. Perez's lips. "Miss Ellington, stop fighting. The drug is already in your system thanks to your brilliant sister. It's colorless, odorless, and absorbs right through the skin. Soon the fever will become unbearable, and you'll be desperate for any relief." Hazel's mind jolted. Her strength was draining away. If Mr. Perez tried anything, she wouldn't be able to stop him. Hazel forced herself to take even breaths, willing herself not to panic. She fumbled in her bag, her fingers closing around a small knife. She wasn't going down without a fight. "Stop the innocent act," Mr. Perez sneered. "Your father told me you're not as proper as you pretend to be. I'm the only one kind enough to offer marriage. You should be thanking me." He let out a low laugh and inched closer, his hands tracing her curves. "You might resist now, but once the drug takes hold, you'll welcome my touch." One second Mr. Perez was there, and then next he was gone. He was yanked backward and thrown to the ground in a lifeless heap. Scrambling to his knees in pure terror, he looked up at the man seething above him. And then he was punched in the face so hard he saw stars. Hazel, her mind foggy from the drug, heard her name. The voice sounded so familiar, safe. She wanted more of it. Despite her efforts, she couldn't respond. Landon's brow furrowed as he crouched down in front of Hazel, his hands cradling her jaw. "Are you all right? Did he hurt you?" Hazel's hand brushed against Landon's, and her skin burned at the contact. Without even knowing what she was doing, she threw herself into his arms. The drug was taking full effect. Hazel's mind felt like it was in overdrive, her breath coming in short, sharp gasps. A fire was blazing in her chest, stealing all control from her limbs. It was all too much, and she needed some type of release. Craved it. Landon steadied her with one arm around her waist, tapping out a message to Ethan with his free hand. "Hang on." Landon lifted her into his arms and rushed to a side street where Jack was waiting beside a black car. "Hospital now!" he barked, sliding into the back seat with Hazel wrapped around him. Suddenly, a pair of soft, hot lips brushed the corner of his mouth, sending a trail of heat straight to his groin. Landon's breath hitched. "Hazel," he said, his voice tight with restraint. Hazel lifted her head from his chest, her eyes unfocused as she stared up at him. "Landon." A sharp, tearing pain shot through her, so intense it felt as if her body was being pulled apart from the inside. It hurts so much." Landon's phone buzzed with the notification of an urgent voice message from Ethan. "Landon, this is serious. If it's what I think it is, there's nothing I can do for that drug. There is no known antidote. If the effects aren't relieved, she will die from the pain. People have killed themselves over it. Look, man, I don't know how to tell you this, but you're going to have to consummate the marriage. The longer you wait, the worse it's going to get." It had started as a small, uncomfortable itch, but as time wore on, the agony became so intense Hazel could hardly stand. She was limp in Landon's arms, weak and flushed, her eyes red-rimmed, her lips parted and glistening. She looked at Landon, who was motionless. "Make me your wife in every way," she whispered, kissing the other corner of his mouth. Landon's eyes went dark as he hissed. Ethan's words were ringing in his ears. If even Ethan didn't have a cure, there was only one thing left to do. He sent Jack a text to redirect their destination. "Hold on just a little bit longer," he murmured against her ear, his finger tracing along her skin and driving her wild. "Jack, step on it!" he roared. The second they pulled up to the villa, Landon raced her upstairs, knowing time was of the essence. Her moans and pleas were getting more feral by the instant. He laid Hazel on the bed gently, in awe of her. This isn't how he wanted this to go, but he had no other choice. Landon leaned over her. "Hazel, don't regret this." She threw her arms around his neck and pleaded, "I won't. Please, Landon, it hurts so much." Landon captured her mouth in a deep kiss, and she met it with a desperate fire of her own. Hazel felt like he was kissing her breathless, but it still wasn't enough. The drug had carved out a desperate, aching void inside her. Landon's hands began to trace the lines of her body, stoking the flames he was meant to extinguish. Every touch on her hypersensitive skin made her gasp, her breathing growing heavier. An urgent, undeniable need was building inside her, the need for a deeper connection. Worried he might not be able to, she pressed her body flush against his, only to jerk back in surprise by what she felt, the undeniable truth of his own desire. Hazel was stunned. You're... Lifting his head from her chest, Landon heard her stammer. He knew exactly what she was thinking. He placed a soft, firm kiss on her collarbone, his voice dark. "What, finally realize your husband is a normal man?" He then helped her sit up, his hands gentle as he helped her slip out of her dress. Hazel clumsily fumbled with the buttons on his shirt. "I'll help you too." But in her drug-addled haze, her fingers wouldn't cooperate. Landon watched her struggle for a moment, a soft, amused laugh escaping him. "Here, let me..." When the last barriers between them were gone, Hazel was eager but still scared. "I've never done this before," she whispered. "Please be gentle." Landon eased her back onto the silky blankets and settled himself over her. His touch was intimate and overwhelming, making her cry out as a pleasure so intense it was almost pain shot through her. Between the drug and Landon's skilled touch, the desperate heat inside her coiled into a tight knot of anticipation. Landon knew it was time. He couldn't wait another second to close the distance between them. He positioned himself above her, still gentleman enough to ask, "Ready for me?" Hazel gave a weak, lopsided smile, her red lips parting. "Please, Mr. Morgan." That formal address even now grated on him. He answered by moving to join their bodies, a singular, decisive motion that stole the air from her lungs. A cry of relief tore from her throat. A single tear slid from the corner of her eye, and Landon lowered his head and kissed it away, his rhythm softening to a slow, gentle pace. "Are you okay?" he murmured against her skin. Hazel just nodded her head, biting her lip, unable to answer as a new, unfamiliar warmth began to bloom across her skin. Landon could feel her body yielding to his, a sensation so overwhelming his control started to fray. He quickened their rhythm, their desperation for each other becoming frantic. "Let go, Hazel," he whispered. "I want to hear you." In the aftermath, the tangled sheets were a testament to their union. They remained lost in each other, moving as one until the last traces of the drug had finally burned away. When Hazel woke up, her entire body screamed in protest. She sat up in bed, staring blankly into space for a long moment, her thoughts a jumbled mess. Then fragments of the night before started to filter in. Oh my God, she thought to herself as memories flashed to life. The drug, the delirium, her desperate pleas for Landon to help her, and the raw, chaotic hours that followed. Her muscles went rigid as she sensed movement beside her. Slowly, hesitantly, she turned her head and met Landon's steady gaze. She winced as she shifted. Swallowing hard, she stammered, "We? Did we?" A smirk played across Landon's lips. "I think we erased any doubts about my capabilities, don't you?" Hazel's face flooded with color as hazy, fragmented images replayed in her mind. After last night, she knew he wasn't just capable. He was too capable. Even after the fever of the drug had faded, the night had continued, a blur of sensation that left her aching and exhausted, her pleas for rest lost in his intensity. Landon's soft chuckle pulled her from her spiraling thoughts. He reached out, gently brushing a strand of hair from her cheek. "Is my wife satisfied? Or does she want more?" he asked, his voice teasing. Hazel blushed. Just as she opened her mouth to respond, Landon's phone rang. Landon's fingers gently brushed the corner of her eye. "Don't worry, Mrs. Morgan. I won't let anyone hurt you." He answered the phone on speakerphone. It was Ethan. "How's she doing?" Landon glanced over at her with narrowed eyes. "Much better." Hazel pulled the blankets up over her head in embarrassment, knowing that Ethan was very aware of why she felt so much better. Luckily, he didn't dwell on it and moved right along. "Landon, it's time for your follow-up at the hospital." A rare flash of impatience crossed Landon's face. Ethan sighed on the other end. "You can't keep blowing this off. You're still young. This is treatable." Hazel went rigid, her eyes widening in wonder. Blowing what off? Still young? Treatable? Landon looked perfectly healthy. What kind of condition needed so many follow-ups? And to just talk about it so openly right in front of her? Was he dying? Is that he was so quick to marry her? "Fine. I'm on my way." Landon ended the call, his eyes narrowing with a dangerous glint. "I'll be back," he said with a devious wink. "Sleep more." He slipped out of bed, and Hazel couldn't help but stare at his God-given body. He looked back, catching her, and both of Hazel's cheeks went bright as cherries. A few hours later, Hazel awoke, and Landon still hadn't returned. Her stomach grumbled with hunger. Throwing on a robe, she padded down the stairs when voices drifting from the living room stopped her. "Mrs. Hayes, calm down. The matriarch of the Morgan family has made it clear that your daughter will be the future Mrs. Landon Morgan. That little tramp shouldn't think she can get away with this. I'll personally see to it she's kicked out today. The matriarch said anyone she doesn't approve of will never set foot in this family." Another voice added, "Who does she think she is, trying to steal my daughter's place? My daughter and Landon grew up together. They're childhood sweethearts. And this Hazel girl? Who does she think she is, parading around as Mrs. Morgan?" Hazel arched an eyebrow, a mocking smile playing on her lips. Well, looks like Landon is quite the hot commodity." Wilson, the butler, spied Hazel on the steps. It was too late now. She'd been seen, and there was no avoiding the confrontation. His eyes filled with contempt as he sneered, "Oh, Miss Ellington, perfect timing. The matriarch has ordered you to divorce Mr. Morgan immediately. Start packing." Hazel simply raised an eyebrow, saying nothing. Annoyed by her lack of reaction, Mrs. Hayes pressed her attack, her voice sharp and pushy. "I suggest you do it willingly. If Landon has to throw you out himself, you'll lose what little dignity you have left. Honestly, I'm embarrassed for you." "Embarrassed?" Hazel let out a soft, sharp laugh, her gaze turning cold. "Mrs. Hayes, I think you have that backward. Landon chose to marry me instead of your daughter. I'm not the one showing up at your house throwing a tantrum like a spoiled child." "Your house?" Mrs. Hayes scoffed with a laugh. "This house does not belong to you, dear, and it never will. Your place in Landon's life is temporary." "I am the lady of the house now," Hazel argued. "Isn't that right, Wilson?" The butler hesitated, but finally gave a nod, confirming the truth. "See? So as this is my house, please get out." Hazel's smile filled her entire face, "And don't ever think about coming back. You're not welcome." The words struck Mrs. Hayes like a physical blow. She trembled, her face contorting with rage as she raised a hand. "You ill-mannered little brat. You stole my daughter's fiancé, a homewrecker. The moment the hand swung, Hazel's eyes went glacial. Just as Hazel braced to be struck, a hand grabbed Mrs. Hayes' wrist. "I think it's time you leave," Jack growled. "Show them out," Hazel ordered, pointing toward the door. But not before she gave a nod of thanks to Jack for sticking up for her. Mrs. Hayes shook, grinding her teeth. "How dare you? My daughter is the true future Mrs. Morgan. You're just a nobody. You have no right. You'll regret this, Hazel. Just you wait. Landon will marry my daughter. You have no idea what you're up against. You don't know the truth about who he really is." "Mom?" A shrill voice came from the front foyer. "Ma'am, I told you to wait at the door," the valet shouted as he chased after the woman. "Who does this bitch think she is?" the woman screeched as she stormed down the hall, her heels clicking. "This is trespassing and illegal," the valet threatened. "How dare you? A mere servant talking to me like that. Do you even know who I am?" She flipped her hair, not at all deterred by the valet's attempts to stop her. "I am the future Mrs. Morgan, and that shameless woman seduced Landon while we were in a fight. I'm going to kill her." Hazel understood that this must be the infamous Miss Hayes. The pampered heiress was certainly living up to her reputation. The valet's expression hardened. "Miss Hayes," he said coldly, "you know exactly why Mr. Landon canceled the engagement. If you continue to make a scene, I won't hesitate to call the police." "Rachel," her mother greeted her. "Thank God you're here. Where is she? Where's the—" Jack instinctively stood protectively in front of Hazel. "Rachel Hayes, is it?" Hazel responded, cool as a cucumber. "You barge into someone's house screaming your head off, insulting our staff and trying to assault people. I thought you were raised with manners. Hi, I'm Landon's wife." Enraged, Rachel grabbed a cup of hot tea off a nearby table and flung it at Hazel's head. Hazel dodged it easily, and it shattered on the wall behind her. Jack made a move toward Rachel, but Hazel grabbed his arm, stopping him. Hazel wanted to handle Rachel on her own. "If you've got issues, see a therapist. Don't take it out on me." The housemaids rushed in to clean up the mess. "Landon isn't home. Would you like me to have him call you?" Hazel asked, her voice steady. Glaring at Hazel, Rachel was practically vibrating with fury and humiliation, tears welling in her eyes. "You think you're so special? I'll have Landon back in no time. I'm a Hayes and you're a nobody. Do you really think being married to him means anything? Landon and I were practically husband and wife." Hazel stopped cold with an unsettling feeling. "How about you give Landon a message for me?" Rachel went on, her eyes bright with victory. Her hand dug into her bag, and Jack shoved Hazel behind him when she pulled out a long, sharp object. Rachel slammed the test down on the table, her smile triumphant. "That's right," she hissed. "I'm pregnant with Landon's child." The room went silent. Hazel's breath hitched. Jack took a step forward. "Miss Hayes, I think you should leave," Rachel sneered. "Oh, don't worry, I'll leave after she does." Hazel's voice came out low, cutting. "You really don't know who you're dealing with, do you?" Rachel blinked. "What?" Hazel straightened, her entire posture shifting. Elegant, dangerous, unmistakably powerful. "I didn't marry into money," she said softly. "I am money." Jack froze. Even Mrs. Hayes looked confused. Rachel frowned. "What are you talking about?" Hazel's lips curled into a small, knowing smile. "Tell your family," she whispered, leaning in close enough for Rachel to see the flicker of something colder than fear in her eyes. "The Morgans don't own everything. Not yet." The chandelier above them flickered. The storm outside cracked like applause, and for a heartbeat, Rachel actually looked scared. Hazel turned to Jack. "See them out?" As the door slammed behind the Hayes women, Jack turned to her, still stunned. "Hazel," he said slowly, "what did you mean by—" She met his gaze, calm and unreadable. "It's time Landon knew the truth, too." Jack frowned. "The truth about what?" Hazel brushed past him toward the staircase, her robe whispering over the marble steps. "About who I really am," she said, "and why the name Ellington was never mine to begin with." Who is Hazel Ellington really? What secret has she been hiding all along? When the truth comes out, will Landon still choose her?
Wait, that's not the end. You've just had a free taste. Now get the full story on the Pocket FM app, link in description. Check out our next video and playlist, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.